Hey everybody, we're Space Oddities. Those are our names up here and our lovely faces down here. So we're just going to show you about what our product is, what it looks like, and the many lessons that we've had to learn over the course of this development process. So people go outside too much these days. There's not enough people going online. And so we're here to have an online application for group and project management, especially in the educational space here. And now we were dedicated to a friendly and approachable designs for students and teachers to manage projects together, both for students to coordinate and especially for teachers to keep track of a student's progress. And also just so we can facilitate remote work in case something that happened before happens again and we need to be online a lot more. We have some good features in our application, we like to think. Our GitHub integration, of course, means that repositories can be tracked online. Evidence of work is going to be recorded even if many users are involved in that process. Our live updating, of course, allows for easy collaboration even if you're not in the same room. And our project details allow you to manage sprints, timelines, and special events. We're going to show that with our demo.
For the demo, I'll be taking on the persona of Moffat. So I'm here trying to set up a Singe 302 course for next year. So I'm going to log into Moffat's account with a super secure password. Initially, a user is taken to their homepage where they can see their user details. Importantly here, we see that Moffat has the role of teacher and course administrator. This basically gives him permission to do anything he wants within the application. From here, we'll go to the projects page. We have 2 projects already loaded here, but we're going to create a new one for Singe 302. And we'll set the end date for this to sometime near the end of the year. So when you create a project, you'll be taken to the main planner view. So this is where most students will spend a majority of their time when they're just trying to figure out what's coming up. And currently it's empty, so we'll go in and we'll create a sprint to start with. So this is the add dates input. So there's sprints and then there's 3 different types of events that you can have, milestones, deadlines, and events. We'll start with a sprint. So sprint 1, we will begin that today and finish it next Friday. You can optionally add a description. So that sprint immediately shows up, and now we will add a second sprint. And we'll begin that in 2 Mondays' time, finish on the 29th. So now we can see the 2 sprints are displaying. You'll notice here that within this view we can actually resize the sprint, but we can't resize it to overlap with an existing sprint. So that's just one example of the input validation we have going on. And when you make that change, it reloads and you see the new view. We'll also show adding a deadline. So deadlines, milestones, and events all have slightly different properties. A deadline is defined as being on a specific date at a specific time. So we'll set that up for this Friday, actually next Friday at 5 p.m. and that is the sprint submission time. And you'll see here this displays within the sprint. The other view we have here on the project page is the project details. From here you see each sprint grouped, and within the sprint you can see the events, deadlines, and milestones that are within those sprints. We have WebSockets working to allow live updating, so if another teacher were to edit any of these pages, you should receive a notification saying that they're editing a certain entry on the page, and you'll know not to go and edit it yourself. Cool. And now just for a quick look at the users table, this shows all the users. You can filter and sort just as other groups have enabled. Your sorting preferences are saved across sessions, and you can assign roles to students and teachers if you're a teacher or an admin. The groups page is a little bit more interesting. There are 2 default groups. One is teachers and the others is members without a group. So any person with a teacher role will automatically be included in the teacher group. And likewise, if we add somebody to the teacher group, they will gain the teacher's role. and members without a group, if you don't have a group, you'll be placed in there. We already have a Team 700 group, which we'll use later on in the demo, but for this, I'll just create a new group for Team 900. Just to point out, Team 700 is linked to a GitLab repository. I won't show how that's set up, but it's similar to other teams. And we can see here that we have some kind of feedback showing us that that link is working.
Sweet, and I'll be playing in the persona of a new student that's coming into the Singe 302 course. So what I can do, I can sign up. Okay, wait. And I can put in my UC username, a password, and fill in all my details, select my pronouns. And here will be my profile with ability to edit it. I won't demo that. And edit your password and also edit your profile photo. Sweet. And yeah.
Sweet, and now I'm just gonna showcase off some of the evidence stuff. So I already have an account on here because I'm a student in Singe 303. Log in. Sweet, and I can view evidence from here or from here. There's a page, there's a link on your account, but I'm gonna do it through the project because then it auto fills in the project, because our one's a bit different. We can have multiple projects, so you can select your project here and it will only add the evidence for that project. So I'm gonna add a new piece of evidence. We can see there's a couple of mandatory fields, so they're just the title, the description, and the date. So this is a brief description about what the date's about, but we're just going to start filling this out now. So recently I was setting up the virtual machine, so I want to log that. That's a qualitative technical skill, and then just any sort of description. So this, this is me working on the VM suite, and then that's pretty much everything we want to do for this piece of evidence. We're just going to also do a quick little DevOps skill to save on there. That's optional, but I'm going to do that to showcase off how the editing stuff works. So we can see here, here's our piece of evidence. So if I click on a skill that we don't quite have, you can see I click on the category service and there's no piece of evidence here. But if I click on the DevOps skill, then we do have piece of evidence for that. So we can see that now. Sweet, so we're just going to add in one more piece of evidence, and I'm going to link in Jesse on this one so that you can see. I'm just going to give it the same title to make things easier, and description, and I'm going to link Jesse on with it so that she can share this piece of evidence with me. So she will have her own duplicate of this piece of evidence, and that will show up for her account. So DevOps, whoops. Okay, it doesn't like that. Sometimes the skills are definitely having trouble. Title, just and as we can see, there's autocomplete for the skill that I already have submitted on a different piece of evidence. So now I can click that and submit it onto there. And we can add on another skill, server development. We can add on a link. So I'm just going to put on Google. And I can also select my repository. So I'm going to select in Team 700 and I'm going to check out myself, search just with any sort of date. Okay, apparently I don't exist on here. Maybe I exist as Toby or whatever. Oh, what? Yeah. There we go, Toby Morgan. Okay, and now I can add in some commits, and that's everything I wanted. So I can save this piece of evidence, and now GC can log into her account, and we should see the exact same piece of evidence.
Okay, sweet.
Wait, first. Oh, sorry. First, I gotta change this to show you that the editing of skills works. So we're gonna change the capitalization of DevOps because that's not how it's quite spelt. We're gonna change it to DevOps. And that change will only take effect for my piece of evidence and not for Jesse's duplicate.
Yep, and you can see this evident in if I go to my own page, I can view my evidence, and you can see this is the evidence that Toby created for me, and his changes did not affect mine because this is my own copy of the evidence. Yeah, and I can high five it as well.
That's it for the demo.
I'm Carl, and I'm covering lessons learned. So the first lesson we learned throughout this project was how to sort out our testing strategies. So at the very beginning, we had very little unit testing at all. And we slowly increased this up to the point where we had a nice 80% coverage on all of our classes. After this, we worked on adding Selenium testing to our project, but we found that this took a lot of effort to keep up to date with changes we would make. So we eventually cut back on this and focused on test-driven development with unit testing. In our sprint planning, we identified the tests we wanted to pass for each of our stories before implementing anything, and this helped us to increase the quality of our product. Team communication is another thing we picked up. So our stand-ups have been historically very poor. In some cases, we would take up to half an hour for a stand-up, which wasn't acceptable. By having very clear outlines of what we wanted to talk about, sticking to our 3 questions of what we have done, what we're going to do, and what could block us, we actually cut this down into a reasonable 10 minutes per stand-up. Slack availability is something we also improved over the year. Starting out, we would take a few hours to respond, but I think everyone has notifications up to the point where you can expect a response within even an hour. Cutting back on hesitation to share ideas has also opened up our project to a lot of room for improvement. So when people saw something that wasn't quite right, previously we wouldn't talk about it. We would just say, it's already implemented, let's leave it there. But once we opened up to sharing these ideas with the group, even when we thought we might be wrong, sometimes we were surprised and we were actually right. The team backed us up here, and it helped us out a lot. Keeping team members informed when things didn't go so well also pushed our project forward a lot, because when you're aware that the team isn't able to work on something, you can easily cover their tracks, and nobody's upset about it at all. Ask for help is the last thing, because when we're stuck, everyone needs help sometimes.
Working on this project has given us insight and real experience on what and how the processes are like while working on a large-scale product. The skills we have learned reflect those that are in industry, those that are used in industry. And after going through the process of continuous integration, we can appreciate the difficulties that comes with it. So from the starting this project, we had no idea. Personally, I guess most of our team, we had no idea about the whole process of Scrum. And going through it, we've kind of gained that knowledge and skills. So one of the things that we can truly appreciate is how difficult it is to actually plan and organize and coordinate things together in a large team. And I think over the span of 7 sprints, we've come to be better at it and learn from our past experience. So most of the stuff I was going to talk about this has already been covered, but I'd like to mention some things about unique to our project. So something that was unique to us was Selenium testing. This did cause a lot of problems, as Carl mentioned, but I think at the end it did test some key things that we ended up fixing as well. Some other thing was jQuery. Because it was a single-page application, we didn't use React or Angular, for example. So we decided to go with jQuery. This helped some of our parts in our code base. This helped us reduce some of the difficulties working with JavaScript in our product.
Yeah, so I have a great story about a WebSocket rabbit hole we went down. Initially, we thought it was just a cause issue, so that's sort of networking permission stuff. And we heard from teams in their demos, just 1 or 2 lines, it's done, it's all good. It was not for us. So this goes back to the great thing about 302 that Matthew talked about is problems you make early on will come back to bite you. And a perfect example of this was how we set up our systems around our WebSockets. So our IDP, for those of you who don't know, we have 2 servers running. We have an identity provider, which provides a lot of the user information, the groups, and that is then passed to another server to give the HTML, the websites that you saw, to the user. And so our IDP was taking 7 seconds to load, which is far too long when you want an instant click. And this was because our database had been set up to fetch the entire database whenever we made a call to it, hence the 7 seconds. So we had to refactor that, and we thought, still just a cause issue. Done, easy. Again, no, we made more mistakes and we had to fix more mistakes, and it was layers on layers on layers. And we were making 200 API calls to our server that was directly communicating with the user. This is far too much, and it was slowing our WebSocket down a lot. So we had to do a full refactor of this front end. And eventually we got it working. It still wasn't perfect. There were still some kinks to iron out, but we had a working version. And again, great example of why 302 is really powerful, because in a 6-month project, you're not going to get a problem as deep as this. Something as comprehensive that you need to understand the entire tech stack, the entire flow of data to fix one seemingly simple problem. And yeah, thanks so much to the teaching team, to the rest of the teams. I feel like this was sort of underappreciated as we all shared, like, this library is really useful for this library is really useful for that. I felt like there was a good camaraderie amongst all of us, and it really helped us progress forward. And yeah, thanks so much.